What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's Two Dudes on a Rabbit Hole. I'm David.
I'm Gavin.
And I'm Freebird. I'm Riley.
Riley, kick it off.
I think we all know where this is going, because I'm assuming there's some sort of competent title to this fucking pod. Kevin Durant to the Suns, ladies and gentlemen. Give everybody the details. Kevin Durant, TJ Warren, who I think is actually kind of like halfway oddly important here. It is Mikal Bridges, Jay Crowder, Cam Johnson. We have 4 unprotected firsts and a pick swap. Holy shit. David, you didn't call it. You said there would be a whole on fire sale in Brooklyn. They have like 7 wings who could be playing for other teams right now, and they have 5 of them still.
Okay, what I meant by that is that they're just going to offload their fucking stars. Whatever's going on with Ben Simmons, it's Ben Simmons. I don't give a shit about him. No, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, but I meant like fire sale, you're getting rid of Kyrie, you're getting rid of Kevin Durant. That's what I meant.
Okay. Sure you did. Anyway, so, big trade. Suns gave up not as many picks as they could. I guess they still have some seconds, and they could have offered another couple swaps, but, you know, from everything I could see, they weren't necessarily bidding against other teams here. Kevin Durant had a meeting with ownership, with management, and said, hey, Kyrie's gone. I want to be traded. I'm not sitting here demanding it. I'm asking, will you trade me to the Suns? What happened last offseason when Kevin Durant said, you know what, I'm recommitting to the Nets. Let's do this. Let's see how this season goes. It was made clear that if things did go off the rails, they would work with Kevin Durant to try and find a trade for him that they'd both be happy with. That's what happened. It went off the rails, not because they were doing terrible, because Kyrie fucking is Kyrie. We can get into that another time. So I actually really applaud what Josiah here did. He said, you know what? Let's make it happen. Let's get the picks. Let's do all this. Totally recognize some of the picks won't be great right away. It might take, 5 years before this trade sees like really high level dividends. That's fine. At the end of the day, you got a young, really good player in Mikal Bridges. You got an absolute sharpshooter in Cam Johnson. You got, 37 second rounders for Jay Crowder or something. Did you guys know there were 38 second rounders moved? Anyway,
That's crazy.
Incredible. So I'm going to keep these thoughts simple. If you're the Nets, I think you did about as well as you could have. Maybe you could have went to some other teams. I think there really actually is something to be said for doing right by players. There's a reason there was a stretch where nobody wanted to go to Boston, and it's because Danny Ainge was fucking ruthless. That's just straight up facts. It is. It wasn't that nobody wanted to go there. It's that there were several people who openly said they wouldn't go there, such as Anthony Davis. So, I think they did as well as they could have. I think it was a good trade. I don't think they're worried about losing TJ Warren as part of it. They were going to have to cut somebody anyway to bring in Bridges and Johnson. I think Johnson is actually a pretty good little piece here. A sharpshooter, yes, he's got to get paid, but from every time he's stepped on the court this year, he just lights it up. He's a certified bucket out there when it comes to jumpers. It's great. The other side of this, so apparently Kevin Durant's on the Phoenix Suns. Lost my shit about this at 10 whatever at night, 1 a.m. on fucking East Coast time where most people operate. And I couldn't get anybody on to fucking pod. So just excuses everywhere. At least one was a real excuse. The other was like, I'm just going to go to bed. We'll talk about it later. I am so disappointed in Gavin.
God, David.
Fucking Gavin.
David's like, I don't know, trying, baby. Gavin was like, yeah, I think I was just going to go to bed. We'll talk about it later. I'm like, this is one of the 15 greatest players of all time. One of these guys hasn't been traded, like, in or near their prime since 2004. It's been 19 years, and Gavin wouldn't get on the call with me. I'm just so disappointed. Anyway, that's Shaq, by the way, in case you're wondering. So,
Yeah.
if you're the Suns, you instantly become the title favorites in the West. I believe they're still behind Boston. They might even still be behind Boston and Milwaukee. I know on some sites they're neck and neck with the Nuggets. Other sites they're straight up over the Nuggets. I think that's right. I think they are at the top now. I think you look at it and you go, Chris Paul has his flaws at this point. Like, he's like 37, I think, or about to be 37. Like, it was bound to happen eventually. That's fine. Like, you're going to slow down at some point. Can he be your third/fourth option on this? Hell yeah. You get like the third best defender on him? That's insane.
Yeah.
Booker comes back. Booker's never not had the number one guy defending him. And now he gets the number two every night because it's Kevin friggin' Durant. Kevin Durant, he's just going to keep doing what he does. Apparently, he's decided he will shoot, it's like 56 or 58% from mid-range on volume. Fun fact, next closest is like 6 percentage points lower. Kevin Durant is ridiculous. He changes the complexion of the Suns astronomically. This is not just a game changer, but this could be a career maker for Suns' new ownership, for Kevin Durant, because Lord knows some people still aren't counting those rings with the Warriors. I see why. Career maker for Devin Booker, career maker for Chris Paul and the legacy he has. Holy shit. I totally get the concerns about who's going to be the fifth guy in the lineup. When your first four guys are who they are, I don't think you should be super worried. Maybe it's Torrey Craig, maybe it's Darius Baisley, maybe it's Josh Okogie. Cool, play some fucking defense, hit a three occasionally. Sweet. I do have some very real depth concerns. That's fine. We will find out if that really plagues them or not. Guess what? Everybody's playing 40-plus minutes a game when it really matters in the playoffs anyway. I'm not super worried.
Yeah. Yeah, the depth thing
awesome.
is a slight concern. We saw that issue with the Rockets when Chris Paul was there. They didn't have any depth. That being said, I hope Chris Paul gets his ring. I really do. I think Kevin Durant makes that a bigger possibility. And this is a massive move for the new Suns ownership. And it could potentially draw more players there because they show that they're willing to do what it takes to get championships. And players like championships. So, I think both teams got what they wanted. Yeah, did the Suns unload some stuff? Sure. But you're going to have to unload stuff to get a top 15 all-time player. It's just what's going to happen. And the Nets, they have picks galore now. So they're rebuilding for their future. And they can use those picks to trade for players later. So that's all I have. I love Kevin Durant, though.
I know. You're all about him.
I loved him when he was in OKC. I loved him before they fucking left them.
He was in Golden State first. Oh god, that'd be hard to swallow.
Yeah, he has a lot of negative talk, and he did get a lot of talk for, making all those burner accounts on Twitter and stuff like that.
If I was famous, I'd have like 7.
Like, it's stupid stuff, but I think he is one of the greatest to play. It's point and simple, one of the best shooters of all time. And the dude's 7 foot tall.
Maybe taller.
He's probably like 7'2".
He's massive. So, before I continue, because I have more shit, Gavin, thoughts?
I was tired. I'll start with that. I was tired. I had to go to work, but in hindsight, that was unacceptable for the magnitude of the trade that just went down.
I had to wake up at 4-something a.m. to go to work the next morning, so I don't even want to hear it.
Tomato. So yeah, it was a massive deal, a big swing for the Suns. and I give kudos to them for realizing that it's open in the West for the most part. And that I think it was at the time 7 games behind the one seeded Nuggets. And I mean, they really only have Jokic, Jamal Murray coming back from injury, and then MPJ and Aaron Gordon playing at better levels than they're used to. So if that's like kind of the top dog, adding Kevin Durant to your team, who's already been to the finals prior without Kevin Durant, should make you the clear cut favorites in the West if it melds correctly. I think it will. The only scary thing, I guess, is that you gave up the unprotected. I think it was 23, 25, 27, 29. But I realize that you have this window now, and now you're just trying to capitalize on it with Kevin Durant. So, yeah, it's just huge for the Suns, and we'll see what they can do. For the Nets, it is kind of interesting because I think they potentially could have gotten more in the offseason as opposed to doing like a NBA trade deadline deal. But I wonder if the Nets at that time were just like, you know what, like we've been going through so much with the Kyrie and the Kevin Durant stuff that maybe it's just like everyone in that organization maybe kind of just like a fresh start or reset. So that's what I think why they traded Kevin Durant. But along with what Riley was saying in terms of them having that prior agreement with Kevin Durant, if he stayed and if he did want to get traded, these are the teams he wanted to go to, and would you be able to get me to said teams? So I respect that from the Nets for at least allowing him to go where he wanted to go, because they easily could have just said F you and got more potentially from other teams. But regardless of that, the Nets now have Mikal Bridges, Dorian Finney-Smith. They have a whole host of other wings. So I'm excited to see sort of if one of those guys becomes the de facto number one over there. And I'm excited to see just what Mikal Bridges looks like as a number one option. Like, I'm excited. I think if they stay the course, they play basketball just right with good, long, lengthy wings. I think they can still make the playoffs. I don't know if they'd be like a top 6, but I can definitely see them still competing and being a playing team. So, yeah, and then just going back to the Suns really quick, I could totally see a scenario where they do well for the first couple of years, but Chris Paul continues to decline. Kevin Durant's also not getting younger. He's, I believe, 34 right now. So I believe the unprotected picks in 2027 and 2029 will be huge because I don't know what this team's going to look like in 6 years. Or I guess that'd be 4 to 6 years. So, yeah, it's a lot, but I think if you have a chance to get a ring now, with it being as open as it is, you make that deal. So those are my thoughts on it.
Okay, I still have plenty on this. I think to wrap up some of the Nets stuff, I think they have kind of two directions, primary directions they can go. They can go off season, unload a bunch of these guys for picks or like young prospects. Like Dorian Finney-Smith can get you a first. Spencer Dinwiddie could probably get you a flyer on somebody. You could sign and trade Cam Johnson away. He'll be a restricted free agent. Like, there's a lot of stuff. There's even rumors that there were like 4 first-round picks offered for Mikal Bridges from Houston. That seems like a lot to me. I really like Mikal Bridges, but like, holy shit. Even if some of those were like, we'll give you your first back to the Nets, it's a bit much for me. It's a bit rich for my blood. 4 picks. Kevin Durant just went for 4 picks and a couple players. Like, holy shit. this is probably Ben Simmons' last chance to like prove he's a high caliber player, right? Like if you're the Nets, you just say, hey, you're our guy. You have a guard next to you who can play at a very competent, solid level in Spencer Dinwiddie. You have a bunch of wings who can shoot all over. No, Nick Claxton isn't a shooter, but he's a near, if not all NBA defender. And like he shoots fucking like 80% from the field. Guy's absurd. It's either going to work or it's not. Like this is kind of his last shot. This is like a 30 or 20 something game sample to find out if Ben Simmons is broken for sure. Like you could be like, oh, you know, X, Y, or Z. This is it, man. Like if this doesn't hit, I'll have no stock left in Ben Simmons. Like I won't even want to go near him when he'll like put up 63 points in the opening night next year. And I'll be like, I don't want anything to do with him. I'm out. Forget it. So, Suns, I do want to address something I said on a previous pod, or maybe even just off camera. I was completely out on DeAndre Ayton. So, to address that, I was out on him having the ability to be a number 2, or even be like a very competent number 3. He needs to be like a 3.5, and his 1 and 2 are 2 of the 8 best players in the NBA. Like, when I think of a number 3, I think of like, all right, you have Giannis. Okay, your number 2 player is number 21, Chris Middleton, and your number 3 guy needs to be somewhere like top 35-ish, like Drew Holiday. I didn't know it was going to be fucking Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. You have like number 3 and number 8 or something like that. Like, it's absurd. The bar for being a number 3 player falls from Drew Holiday to KCP when you have that high of a 1-2. And you still have Chris Paul. And I know he's not as good as he was. I totally get that. That's fine. It's going to happen eventually. But Jesus Christ, Ayton, if you like suck on this playoff run or next playoff run or both, there's no way like anybody can buy into you as anything more than like a rotational center, which sounds super harsh. But you can't tell me if you have this level of talent around you and you end up being like, yeah, I had 8 points and 9 boards there in game 6. Like, holy shit, man. All the attention in the world is going to be on these other guys. Like, this is your chance to be like, I can at least be the 3rd/4th, depending on your thoughts between him and Paul.
That's what
I hope
Ben
Kevin
Simmons
Durant
going to
gets
end up
this ring.
being.
Dude, I don't know what the fuck Ben Simmons is going to do, man. I think he's broken. Like, I think I'm already out on him, but I don't know. I hope Durant gets this ring because I think he kind of needs it for his legacy, probably even more than Paul needs it for his, which sounds kind of weird, but I think even if Paul gets this ring, he goes from player, 23 to like 19 or something, like somewhere in that range. Maybe he's 30, maybe he's 17, like there's a whole range. He's somewhere in there. Kevin Durant gets this ring. Like, it legitimately propels him from, like, 14 to, like, 9 in my mind. Because this is I think the best thing that could have happened for Durant was that this happened mid-season. Because if you told me he joined in the offseason a 66, 65, whatever, win Suns team, how much value would that have to your legacy if you then win a title with that team, right? The team that finished like 7 games above everybody else the previous year. But you're joining a team that's a few games above 500 at the trade deadline. I actually think this is sneaky, like super smart, or maybe just super lucky that this happened. Because now it's no longer, look at how stacked this team is. They added Kevin Durant. It's, yeah, maybe they'll be feisty in the West. It's kind of wide open. To like completely elevating it. It's actually kind of super important for his legacy. And if he gets another ring, what if he gets 2? Like, I know Chris Paul's aging. Booker's like fucking 27 though. DeAndre Ayton's like 23, 24. Yeah. What if he gets 2? He'll be next to Steph at that point on the ring count. And I think a lot of people already have him above Steph as a player, which I have them like literally next to each other. So like, I think there's so much importance to this trade. I think it boils down to Suns have to win a title. If they don't win it this year, I don't think it's like panic time, because I think Kevin Durant will still be a high-level player next year for sure. So this year, next year. You might get a third or fourth year out of this. I don't want to bank on that because we know how fast it can go downhill. That's what I got. Love this trade.
Yeah, I love it as well. It fits for both teams. I don't have anything else on it, though. Gavin, what about you?
I think if Durant wins a ring with the Suns, I think it propels him. I don't think he becomes top 10 after he gets that ring. I think he's knocking on the door at 11. Um, because I think like the biggest thing for Kevin Durant is he's never been like the undisputed top guy on a team that has won a championship, because that's kind of the biggest knock on him is like he has all this great talent in the world and he's led other teams to the finals before, but when he went with OKC he fell to LeBron, but then he had to join a team that had already won the finals. So I'm kind of worried that it's kind of repeating itself where it's like he's joining another team that got there without his help, but the difference is they didn't win it prior. They lost it. So at least he'd be sort of like, oh, we could get there, but we need that extra little boost to kind of get us over the top. I think that difference plus I don't think Phoenix has ever won a championship. So if you go to a place and basically pull like a Kawhi Leonard where you have this magical playoff run and you get that ring for a team that's never won one before, I think that just immortalizes you right there on the spot too. So I think that's going to be the biggest boost right there is just if you bring Phoenix a ring, like, be huge.
Yeah. All right. Well,
that's basically all I got on it.
That's gonna wrap it up for us today.
Real quick.
Here we go.
Is Devin Booker the best number 2 option in the NBA now?
No.
Yes.
Gavin?
Anthony Davis.
Oh, fuck, man. He can't even crack my top 10. I couldn't push Booker out if I wanted to.
That's fine.
That's fair. Okay.
I just know if they're healthy, I'm taking Davis.
I think you're out of your mind. Okay, cool.
All right, that's going to wrap it up for us today, ladies and gentlemen. We're two dudes in a rabbit hole. I'm David.
I'm Gavin.
And he's the rabbit hole. We'll see you later.